For today's edition of Z Files, I'm going to bring to you one of the primary globe killers that has been known for hundreds of years now. And it's Mount Canigou, everybody. Now, some of you long-time flat earthers, when I say Mount Canigou, you're like, oh yeah, Mount Canigou. But for some of the newbies, some of the uninitiated, this is going to be new information. Let's get into it, all right? Because I consistently tell many of you that one of the reasons I can tell you for sure that we do not live on a globe, or at least a globe with the measurements and proportions given to us of roughly 25,000 miles at the equator in circumference, the reason that globe is impossible is because we can observe things way too far. What do you mean, Z? What do you mean, Z? What I mean is, if we can see things at great distances, it disproves the purported curvature of their globe. We say, what do you mean, Z? What do you mean? What I mean is, if we live in a globe, it has to curve. It means oceans and bodies of water have to bend. They have to show and evidence convexity. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to have a globe Earth that is 71% water. You get what I'm saying? There must be curvature for there to be a globe. So contrary to what so many people say to me, is, see, how could you know? You can't get high enough. Who can get high enough to see the curvature? Well, there's other ways to either show, or should I say, there's other ways to either prove or disprove curvature than high altitude observation. We can use observations right here on the ground to disprove this supposed curvature. We can show that no curvature indeed exists, at least based off the circumference of this supposed globe. And then you would say, oh, Z, well, maybe it's just a really big globe, a really, really big one, much bigger than they say. Well, the reality is we could observe things at great distances. So great, in fact, that if indeed this were to be a globe, the globe would have to be orders of magnitude larger than what they tell us, to the point where the Earth would be exceedingly large, would throw off all their math, would throw off all their theories of gravity. In short, long-distance observations debunk the globe on their face, especially long-distance observations over water, which this next example is. What you see here in this image is Mount Canigou. Mount Canigou is a mountain in France. There it is in all its glory. Mount Canigou, at its peak, is 9,134 feet in elevation. I'm going to repeat it again, 9,134 feet in elevation, okay? That's how high the peak is, above sea level. We all got that. Twice a year, once in February and then in October, so twice a year, from Marseille, France, which is another location in France, across the water, Mount Canigou can be viewed at sunset. I'm going to show you this. This is just going into a little bit about Mount Canigou. You can look it up. It's not a secret. I'm not making up this mountain. It exists. It's what I continually tell everybody What we're about to witness here is a phenomena, a natural phenomena. This is not a theory. It's a theory of gravity, the theory of evolution. We're not talking about theories. I'm showing you a natural phenomena. The existence of this phenomena disproves all the theories regarding the cosmology that they're giving you. But for whatever reason, we exist in a world where people would rather believe in theories as they ignore observable phenomena. It's a strange state that we find ourselves in. I mean, it's endlessly fascinating to me. It's one of the reasons why I love showing people this phenomena. Because as you keep telling me to prove my so-called flat earth, I will just keep with my same refrain to you. I am under no obligation to prove a flat earth. The claim is the globe. The claim is that we are rotating and orbiting the sun. I am simply showing you that there is no evidence to prove that claim, and to the contrary, all demonstrable applied physical science and all evidence points to a level, horizontal world, a world in which oceans do not curve and do not bend, a world in which large bodies of water, when at rest, lie level and horizontal. Plain and simple. No model is needed. I don't need to give you another bullshit theory about this reality. Just because I can debunk their bullshit theory does not require me to give another theory that is faulty logic, and I refuse to do so. I will just continue to show you evidence that is contrary to what is being told to you by popular academia, mainstream science, and the so-called education system. So anyway, what we're looking at here in this image is a sunset filmed through a telephoto lens. You're going to see a particular phenomenon happen in regard to Mount Canigou, because as I said, we are observing this sunset from Marseille, France. Okay? And we're looking straight in the direction at Mount Canigou. As I said, twice a year, in February and October, a very special thing happens. From this angle, from this perspective, the sun sets, and I'm going to say sunset in quotes, behind Mount Canigou, making it visible. The silhouette of Mount Canigou becomes visible during these two times of year from this location of Marseille, France. But here is the important part. The distance between Marseille, France and Mount Canigou is 163 miles. I want you to think about that. I want you to think of where you are right now where you are, and I want you to think of a town, a city, anything, any geographic location that's 163 miles from you. All right, have you done so? Good. I have. Now I want you to picture in your mind's eye, if on a globe, if you think there'd be any way possible that you could see anything from your location to that location, 163 miles away, because I assure you, you could not. And we'll get into the numbers in a minute. But let me show you the phenomena first. As we watch the silhouette of the entire Mount Canigou from 163 miles away being observed over water. You ready? Here we go. We're going to do it. Sun goes down. Here it is. We see the full mountain range in view. Now, let's go a bit deeper. This phenomena that I just showed you has been observable from at least since 1808. It was first recorded, which means you don't need a telephoto lens to see the silhouette of the mountain. It just enhances the image because you're increasing the angular resolution. No, this phenomena can be seen with your naked eye, as evidence from this 1898 photo of this phenomenon. And as you see, as the sun is setting in the distance, we see the entire Mount Canigou, 163 miles away. The entire mountain is visible. Let's continue. Let's watch it again. It's gorgeous. The entire mountain range from top to bottom, completely visible. Is this another angle? See it? See another one? This is non-telephoto. This is non-zoom. This is what you would see with your naked eye. There might be some zoom here, but certainly not super zoom telephoto. And as you can see, the entire mountain is visible from 163 miles away. Note the observer height with this view right here, the one I'm showing you, is 1,000 feet above sea level. Okay, you might say, oh, he's so high. No, because I'm going to show you the math. And I'm going to show you how, on a globe, it would be literally impossible to see any of the mountain. You wouldn't see any of it, not even the peak on a globe, much less the entire mountain from top to bottom. Let me continue. Here you see what's called the Earth Curve Calculator. You could find this. It's right online. It's not hard to find, not even a little bit. This isn't the Flat Earthers Earth Curve Calculator. No, this is just the Earth Curve Calculator because, as I said, if we live on an Earth that is 24,901 miles in circumference at the equator, you can very easily figure out what the curvature should be. It's not hard. They're using an equation here, which is based on trigonometry, but it's just this trigonometric equation is just derived from the simple Pythagorean theorem. If you know anything about circumference, then you might know a little bit about diameter. From the diameter, you can easily figure the radius. Based on the radius, you can use the Pythagorean theorem to know what the drop should be at any given distance on this supposed globe. They just made it easy right here. They convert it to a trigonometric equation, which now you can just use. You could do it yourself, guys. You don't have to trust me. You don't have to trust this Earth Curve Calculator. You can do it yourself. What it is showing here, plainly, is that if you're looking at Mount Canigou from 163 miles away with an observer height of 1,050 feet, you should see that 10,205 feet should have been hidden by Earth curvature. You can see that on the bottom, right here, where my arrow is, which unfortunately is being blocked by this time bar, which for whatever reason will not go away. Do you get it, guys? It means regardless of the target, if you're looking at anything on this supposed globe from 163 miles away with an observer height of 1,500 feet, that target should be hidden by 10,205 feet. I already told you that the elevation of Mount Canigou is 9,134 feet, which means that the very top, the peak of Mount Canigou at this distance and at this observer's height should be hidden by 1,071 feet of earth or water or whatever. What's your point, Z? What's your point, Z? My point is, if you're looking at Mount Canigou from Marseille, France, at this observer height, the entire mountain should be obscured by the geographic horizon. There should be no mountain visible. It would be impossible to view Mount Canigou from Marseille, France on a globe. Plain and simple. And you could research, you can verify all these things. Like I said, this has been an observable phenomenon since at least 1808 when it's been recorded. Very likely, it's probably been observed throughout history. As long as people have inhabited that area of France, they have been able to view this phenomenon. With the advent of telephoto lenses, with telescopes, super zoom cameras, we just can increase the angular resolution and get a better view. That's all. Let's watch it again in all its glory. The entire mountain, from top to bottom, is visible. When if we lived on the globe that they said we live on, you would not be able to see any of this mountain. Zero. Now, you might say to me, why only this 2 times a year? How come when the sun's behind it? It's because you're seeing the silhouette of the mountain. The reality is, it goes back to what I've said numerous times. When people say, Z, why can't you see forever on your dumb flat earth? And I keep saying, because there's something called an atmosphere, sphere in quotes. There's atmosphere. Atmosphere implies certain things. There's particulate matter in atmosphere. There's air particles that compose the supposed or the so-called atmosphere. There's moisture. It creates particular effects, miraging. You can't see forever because you're looking through atmosphere. At a certain level, a certain distance, the atmosphere becomes thick enough where it is opaque. You cannot see forever because you cannot see forever through the atmosphere. But as you see, when the sun drops to this level, the sun is powerful enough that it creates this silhouette, making the mountain observable. Notice the mountain is not observable now because, again, the atmosphere, when you go into the horizon, not over the horizon, when you go into the horizon zone, it becomes opaque. Thus, the mountain is not viewable in this image because of the existence of the atmosphere. But again, as the sun moves further into the distance, as it appears to set, due to the principles of perspective and convergence, as things converge to a focal point, and as the sun appears to set, but it is merely moving into the distance beyond the mountain, Plain and simple. We see the silhouette of the mountain begin to appear. See, as it begins to appear, so as we're watching the sun move into the distance from the stationary, fixed earth that you live on, as we watch it happen, we see this amazing phenomenon. Breathtaking, really breathtaking. The world in which you live is a world of wonder, it's a world of mystery. They've stolen the wonder and the mystery from you, from your children. They tell you that they know what this world is, and the reality is they do not. They stole it from you. They defined a world for you that is a falsehood. Now, you want to ask me why they did it? You want to ask me how they did it? That's a completely different conversation. But either way, how much longer are you going to live knowing that you were deceived in such a massive way? How much longer are you going to ignore that fact? How much longer are you going to bury your head in the sand and pretend like what I'm telling you is not real? Because as I've said often, it's one thing to be ignorant, but when you've moved into being willfully ignorant, you've now entered into insanity. Because you can lie to everybody else, but when you're lying to yourself, you are truly insane.